Welcome to our cozy fairy tale series and the magical bedtime story, The Silver Crown of the Willow Queen. In the heart of the ancient Wondered Valley, where rivers hum lullabies and trees bend low as if to share secrets, stood the Grand Willow Grove, a quiet realm said to belong to the mysterious Willow Queen. No one had seen her in many seasons, but stories still passed in soft tones, especially when the wind played through the silver leaves. They said she wore a crown woven of pure moonlight and rainwater, the silver coin, a gift from the stars themselves. Most believed the tale was just that a tale, but one curious heart did not. Her name was Leora, a brave and bright eyed girl with wind toasted curls and a satchel full of questions. She lived in the village of Evershade, nested just beyond the forest edge. While others searched water or mended fences, Leora wandered the woodland paths, listening to the rustle of the trees and watching for signs no one else noticed. One dusky evening, as the sky turned a soft plum and twilight mist curled around trees' trunk, Leora sat beneath the tallest willow. She pressed her ear to the bark, whispering softly, "Is it true? Are you still here, Willow Queen?" To her surprise, the tree shivered. A single silver leaf floated down into her lap, glowing faintly even in the fading light. It pulsed once, twice, then vanished into a swirl of glittering dust. Leora stood and looked around. The woods had grown quieter, even the birds had hushed. Only the willow branches moved, swaying in rhythm to a soundless song. Then a voice, soft almost like wind through reeds. "The crown is fading." Leora turned in circles. "Who's there?" The tree did not answer with words, but something stirred deeper in the forest. A shimmer like moonlight reflected on still water. Compelled, Leora stepped forward, brushing aside hanging branches and tiptoeing into the trees. The air smelled different here, sweeter like lilac and rain. She followed the shimmering trail until she found a hidden pool. Its surface was perfectly still, and beside it stood a willow older and grander than any she had ever seen. Draped in moss and time, it seemed to watch her. At its base sat something unexpected, a stone pedestal, cracking with age, and upon it rested nothing. Yet Leora felt it, an absence like the echo of a bell long silent. The silver crown was stolen, came the wind again, more insistent now. The balance is breaking. Leora's eyes widened. Stolen? But why? The air thickened. A figure began to form beside the pedestal. Tall, graceful, cloaked in shadows and shimmering mist. Her hair flowed like river water, her eyes the color of willow bark. She wore no crown, yet her presence alone demanded reverence. "I am the Willow Queen," she said gently, "and you have heard the call." Leora bowed, unsure if was the right thing, but it felt right. "Why me?" "Because you believe," said the Queen, "and because your heart is unclouded." The Queen extended her hand, and from her palm bloomed a soft white light. Within it, Leora saw glimpses, a silver crown gleaming atop a tower of thorns, a dark river curling like smoke, and a shadowy figure cloaked in raven feathers. "The thief hides in the withering wilds," whispered the Queen. But time grows short. Without the crown, the grove withers. As soon, all of Verdant Valley. Leora took a breath. "Then I will find it." The Willow Queen's lips curved in the smallest of smiles. "Then take the path of the moonlit roots. The trees will guide you." Just then the pool before them rippled and opened like a curtain parting, a tunnel of growing roots spiraling downward appeared. Diora stepped toward it, her satchel clutched tight, her heart full of both wonder and a strange calm. Behind her, the willow branches whispered, "The journey begins, seeker of the crown." Leora took one final glance at the pool behind her. Now still an ordinary once more, the willow branches above rustled softly, as if offering luck. Then, with a deep breath at the silver crown's mystery burning quiet in her chest, she stepped into the glowing tunnel of the air changed instantly. It smelled of damp mold, honeysuckle, and something ancient like old magic. Pale lights drifted past her like fireflies, illuminating the tunnel's spiraling path. The route curved and bent gently, opening just enough for her to walk, never bumping her head or snagging her clothes. It was as though the forest itself had shaped this secret passage just for her. As she walked deeper, she began to hear the whispers, not voice exactly, but gentle murmurs from the trees. They spoke in leaf and bark, in sight and rustles. Though Leora could not understand the words, their tone was comforting. There she saw it, a silver paw crane glowing on the earthen wall, and another. Each one shimmered faintly, guiding her forward. A thread, she whispered. Just ahead, the tunnel opened into a hidden glade, bathed not in sunlight but moonlight. Even though it was still early evening, the moonlight here felt strange, as though time folded differently in this place. Soft white flowers bloomed in patches, opening their sleepy petals as she passed. And sitting by a stump, nibbling on something round and golden, was a fox. But not an ordinary fox. She wore a tiny cloak of blue velvet and spectacles perched on the tip of his nose. A satchel bulged at his side filled with scrolls and dried berries. He looked up as Diora entered, blinked once, and then offered a polite nod. Ah, he said in a crisp voice. So you are the girl they are whispering about. Took you long enough. I was beginning to think the trees had changed their mind. Leora blinked. You know who I am? Of course, the fox said, standing and dusting crumbs off his fur. Name's Quill. I am the appointed pathkeeper. You are here for the crown, are not you? She nodded. The willow queen sent me. Quill tilted his head. Then you will be needing direction. He dug into the satchel and pulled out a map. An oddly shaped parchment that shimmered when the moonlight touched it. On it, Laura saw twisting paths, strange symbols, and ink that seemed to rearrange itself when she blinked. This will take you as far as the river's edge, Quill said. After that, well, you will see. Wait, she asked. What is beyond the river? The fox looked up, his eyes suddenly serious. The Withering Wilds, a place where forgotten things go. Lost wishes, broken promises, and the thief who took the crown. Leora felt a shiver trail down her spine. But don't worry, Kul added with a wink, you will not be alone. He whistled a strange spiraling sound that curled through the glade like smoke. A soft push of feathers followed. From the trees above, white barn owl descended gracefully. She landed beside Leora, her wings barely making a sound. Her eyes were large and golden, gleaming like candlelight. This is Nima, said Koi. She's a watcher. She will guide you from above. Nima gave a gentle hoot and lowered her head in greeting. Leora reached out instinctively and brushed her soft feather. She felt warmth, reassurance, and the sense of a bond already forming. Thank you, Leora whispered to both. Quill handed her the map. Follow the silver markers, avoid the hollow trees, and whatever you do, don't stray from the light. The wilds are tricky. They remember everything and sometimes they test traveler. With that, the glade seemed to shift. The moonlight grew brighter, illuminating a narrow trail leading between two mossy stones. Dora turned to go. Wait, Quill called. One last thing. She turned. When you reach the river, he said, listen for the bell. The bell? You will know it when you hear it, he replied. It only rings for those who truly seek. Leora gave a nod, tucked the map into her satchel, and stepped onto the glowing path. Nima soaring above her in silence. The willow queen's voice echoed faintly in her thoughts. The trees will guide. And now so would moonlight, an owl, and a very clever fox. The moonlit path whispered beneath Leora's boots as she followed its glowing turns. The parchment map clutched tightly in her hand. Above her, Nima the owl flew in slow circles, silent and watchful. Her wings silver against the starlit canopy. Around them, the forest no longer felt like the one Leora had known. It pulsed softly with magic. Cool's warnings played over in her thoughts. Avoid the hollow trees, don't stray from the light, and listen for the bell. As she passed beneath the low arch of flowering branch, she noticed the air shifting again, cooler now, mistier. A soft distant sound reached her ears like water bubbling gently over a stone. The river, she murmured, her heart string with nervous hope. Then she saw it. The forest opened into a small clearing path in gentle silver light. There flowing like a ribbon of liquid glass was the silver river Sridhara. Its water shimmered with pale green and silver hue as if moonlight and starlight had meant it together. The river's current was slow but steady, weaving around smooth stones and glimmering reeds that seemed to hum faintly. But what drew Diora's attention was the bell. It stood on a single post rising from the river's center, a simple silver bell no larger than a teacup hanging motionless from a crooked wooden arm. There was no rope, no beach, and yet it rang out, a single crystal clear note that echoed in her voice. Nima circled once overhead, then landed on a mossy stone beside her. The owl blinked slowly as if to say, "Yes, this is where you listen." Leora closed her eyes. The bell rang again, clearer this time, and not just a sound but a message. She heard it in her heart. Asked not just to find the crown, asked why the crown was taking. Her eyes flew open. The voice had not been her own, and it had not belonged to Nema or Pul. It was old, feminine, sorrowful, and wise. Then the river shifted. From its depths rose a figure, a woman made entirely of water and light. Her hair flowed like the current, and her gown rippled with lily pads and tiny fish darting through the hem. Her eyes glistened like pools of rain. The bell struck. Leora whispered. The watery woman spoke in a voice that echoed like a thousand droplets falling at once. Leora of the willow glade, you seek the crown once worn by the queen of trees. Yes, Leora replied, stepping forward. The willow queen sent me. The spirit tilted her head. Do you know why the crown was taken? Leora hesitated. To weaken her, to unravel the forest? The bell spirit nodded. And yet the thief did not hide it to destroy. He hid it because it began to whisper to him. To him, Leora asked, "Who is he?" The river rippled again. A mist rose from the water, swirling into a picture, blurry but clear enough. A figure cloaked in feathers. A boy, perhaps, or something, once a boy. He was once the Willow Queen's most loyal messenger, the spirit said softly. A raven who longed for more than wings and sky. He wished to walk the earth and bear a name. The queen granted his wish. Leora watched as the mist image moved, the boy running joyfully through the forest, speaking to animals, delivering message, laughing. But the change came with a cost, the spirit continued. The longer he wore the shape of the boy, the more he forgot his true form. When he touched the silver crown, it awakened something wild in him, and the crown, lonely and powerful, whispered back. The image faded. Now he hides in the withering wilds, guarding the crown, not out of malice but out of fear. He believes little it will return him to feathers and scar. Leora felt a pang in her chest, but the forest is fading, And so must he decide, said the spirit. He must choose between self and service, between freedom and the forest. The bell spirit reached toward Leora, placing a drop of glowing water on her forehead. You may pass, but remember, not all enemies are weak, some are simply lost. The river parted down the middle, revealing a narrow glowing path across the water. Nima fluttered beside her, ready. Leora stepped forward across the path and into the edge of the withering wilds, where time itself began to rap and whisper. Behind her, the bell rang once more. The withering wilds did not howl or roar. They sighed. Trees drooped under unseen weight, their back faded and brittle like parchment left too long in the sun. The air held a eerie stillness, as though even the wind had forgotten how to dance. Leora stepped cautiously along the glowing path, each football lighting the ground faintly beneath her. Nima flew low, gliding through patches of curling foam. 10 years felt odd. Some moments stretched long and empty while others blinked by in a heartbeat. But Leora pressed forward, the bell spirit's word echoing in her mind. Not all enemies are weak, some are simply lost. After what felt like hours or perhaps only minutes, the path ended at a stone archway chopped in ivy. Beyond it was a garden unlike any she had ever seen. It was wild and wonderful and blocky. A crescent moon hung low, almost resting on the treetop. Beneath it, silver vines crawled up broken statues of animals, her eyes covered in digit. Blue flowers with soft feathered petals grew from clay pots and hanging lanterns flickered with fireflies instead of flame. In the center of it all stood a crumbling sundial surrounded by mirrors. Each mirror shimmered with reflections that did not match their surroundings, some showing lush forests, other oceans, and one reflecting only stars. And there beside the sundial stood a boy. His back was to her, his cloak a tumble of black feathers. His hair was shaggy and dark, and though he stood still, his fingers twitched nervously. I have been waiting, he said softly. His voice was young but tired, like someone who had wandered through too many dreams and forgotten which one was real. Dior stepped closer. You are the messenger. He turned. His eyes were a stormy grey blue, deep and distant. At first glance, he looked no older than Viora. But behind those eyes was something ancient and sky-born. I was, he murmured, once before I forgot the sky. Nima landed on Leora's shoulder. The boy gazed straight toward her, and a soft smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. She remembers me, he said. Leora took a breath. The forest is unraveling. The willow queen glows weaker each day without the silver crown. The boy turned away. It sings to me. It tells me stories of wind and wing, of flight above mountains and freedom without roots. Says, if I return it, I will vanish. It's just a crown, Leora said gently. No, he said, it's more than silver and shine. It was made from promises and ancient wind. It remembers what we forget. Leora stepped forward. Then maybe it remembers your heart too. The boy said something. Wind rustled the garden, a soft sound almost like weeping, drifting from a nearby thicket. Leora turned, but the boy spoke quickly. Don't follow the sound. This place, it bends memory. It will try to make you choose the wrong path. Then he reached into his cloak and withdrew the silver crown. It was not large or grand. It was simple and delicate, woven of silver branches and willow leaf, with a single pearl in its center, and that pearl soft like heartbeat. I sleep with it near, he whispered. When I dream, I remember feathers, I remember flying. He looked up at Leora, his expression pained. If I gave it back, what will I become? Leora's voice was calm. You will become what you choose, not what the crown decides, not what the forest expects, what you truly are. The boy stared at the ground in his hands for a long time. Then slowly he stepped forward. Will she remember me? She never forgot you, Leora said. The boy blinked, and in that moment, a single black feather drifted from his shoulder. He held out the crown. Leora took it, warm and humming, and felt a tremor run through the forest. It served like a sigh of relief. The sun then behind them began to glow. The boy smiled sadly. Go now, before the wild shift again. Leora nodded. Will he come with us? He looked to the sky. I will try. Then he vanished, not into mist, not into feathers, but into a trail of light, as if stepping into a memory that belonged only to him. Nima let out a soft hoot. Together they turned toward the way home, the silver prawn safe in her hands, but the journey was not done. Far above the forest, storm clouds began to gather. The moment Leora stepped back through the archway into the edge of the willow forest, the colors around her sharpened, the air once dull and breathless, now tingled in quiet life. The trees, though still weary, stood straighter as if aware that something long lost had been found. Cradled in her arms, the silver crown shimmered gently. It pulsed with memory and song, not loud or grand, just soft, steady, like the rhythm of something ancient waking up. Not much farther, she whispered, as if the trees themselves were listening. Nima flew ahead, darting from branch to branch, her golden eyes alert. The deeper they went, the more the forest seemed to lean in, watching, waiting. And then, just beyond the bend in the Musi trail, they saw it, the grove of the queen. Once it had been a radiant place full of dappled sunlight and laughter woven into the leaves. Now it slumbered wrapped in mist and silence. In its center stood the willow queen, as still as a statue. Her long hair had dimmed to silver grey, and the willow vines that curved from her sleeve were brittle with sorrow. Diora stepped closer. I found it, she said softly, and I brought it to home. The queen did not move, but the air shifted. Nima landed beside the queen and gave a low, reverent hood. Leora climbed the final step to the carved stone pedestal and gently placed the crown upon the queen's head. For a breathless second, nothing. Then a single silver leaf unfurled from the queen's shoulder. Then another. Then a cascade of golden light, like sunlight through rain, spilled down her cloak. The vines lifted, green returning to their veins. Her eyes spread open and they were full of ancient stars. Leora, the queen breathed, her voice like wind rustling through a heart. Brave, bright child, tears stung Leora's eyes. You are awake. The queen reached out, touching her cheek. Because of you, because of the truth you carried even into forgotten places. Behind them, the trees began to stir. Birds bloomed on bare branches, and a warm wind spread through the grove. Flowers opening colors that had not been seen for years, and above the clouds that had gathered began to pull apart like curtains drawn back from a forgotten stage. But even amid the joy, Diora glanced back the way she had come. What of the boy? She asked quietly, the raven who remembered the sky. The queen followed her gaze. He was once my son. Diora blinked. The prince? The queen nodded, stolen by winds and sorrow. He wandered too far into dreaming. I sent the bell spirit to guard the ages, hoping someday someone would follow the sound. He let go of the crown, Leora whispered. He chose something new. The queen's gaze turned skyward. Then perhaps he is free now. Just then a shadow passed overhead. Leora looked up. There, circling above the treetops, was a bird. Not quite raven, not quite anything she had seen before. Its feathers shimmered like midnight and dawn, and trailing behind it was a ribbon of silver light. It did not land, but it circled once, twice, and then vanished into the horizon. Nima gave a knowing hoot, and Leora smiled. The forest began to sing, not with words, but with life. Leaves rustling, petals stretching, streams chuckling as they broke through earth. The trees remembered their rules, and the sky opened wide. The queen turned to the girl. Will you stay, Leora? She thought for a moment, then shook her head gently. No. I think the forest needs me to carry its story beyond these trees, for others to hear the music. The queen touched her forehead. Then you shall walk as a keeper of the crown. Wherever you go, Leora bowed. Thank you. With Nima by her side and the scent of blooming willows guiding her, she walked back through the forest, not awake, now alive. The world waited beyond the trees, full of new paths and old magic. And somewhere far above, a bird with silver tipped wings flew out, tracing new stories in the sky.